All right. Hey guys, it is Sarah Ford with Warming Up with Sincerely Sarah. Today I have a special guest, Jodie Farmer. Welcome, Jodie.
Hi,
I
thank
really appreciate you agreeing to do the interview with me. I'm going to try not to touch my hair the whole time. So I'm really, really pumped about this interview. And I will tell you why. Because Jodie and I connected over a purse in September. And I know next to nothing about her. So I am so excited to get to know her more and to hear more about her story, and for all of you to hear her story as well, because I know that she has lots of very invaluable things that she can share with us. So Jodie, please tell us how you got started with Scentsy. How did you find it? How did you get started? And what was your life like at the time?
Okay, so first let me say thank you. I'm super excited to be here. A little bit nervous with some sweaty palms, but I'm also excited because like you said, I don't know you well. So I was like, oh, why did she think of me? That's so sweet that you thought of me. So thank you. And I promise I will try not to touch my hair the whole time either, but there are no guarantees here.
Yeah.
So actually, how I got started with Scentsy is kind of interesting. It's a part of Scentsy's history that I don't think many people know. So. I started back in August of 2008, and my mother was at a party for my sister-in-law, and she called me. She's like, "You need to do a party for Kimberly," and I'm like, "Mom, I don't go to those parties, let alone host one and invite my own friends over, right?" She's like,
Right.
"Jodie, it's your sister-in-law. You need to do this for her." And I said, "Fine," because it's my mom. She's asking, so I've got to do it. So I scheduled my Scentsy party, didn't know what it was. I was a diehard Yankee Candle burner at the time. And I'm like, well, I've got Yankees. I'm good. And so I scheduled my party with Kim, and I did nothing. I didn't invite anybody. I did nothing. So I canceled it. I'm like, "Kim, I'm really sorry, but I just really suck at this, blah, blah." Well, I felt guilty. So I ended up hosting a party, and it was fun. A few people came. I liked, at the time, it was fried ice cream. If you
Mhm.
guys haven't smelled fried ice cream, it's one of my favorites. And I was like, "oh, this is really cool." Placed an order. I didn't give it much thought until I got my order in from that. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, I loved the packaging. Back then we had these really cute boxes, and that kind of hooked me. But I had
The
put
green stripes.
yes, the green, the old fashioned, and a lot of people used to join based on the appearance of that box because it was just
Oh
so
wow.
boutique-y looking, I guess, high
Yeah.
class.
Mhm.
So I ordered a Scentsy warmer. I mean, it was like a brick orange with different, like, I don't know if it was Chinese writing or whatever on the sides. And I loved it. But I put blueberry cheesecake in, and I went to bed. And I remember waking up, and I poked my husband. I'm like, "Do you smell that?" I'm like, "that's downstairs." He's like, "Yeah, I smell it." I'm like, "I've got to share this." I didn't say sell it. I said share it,
Mhm.
because I was like, I'm spending $30 on a candle, and Yankee's a great company. I'm not discrediting them, but it's different and it's expensive. And at the end
Yeah.
of the day, you're throwing away an empty black jar. With
Yeah.
this bar at that time was $5. I'm like, I literally want to tell everybody in the world about this. I didn't have $99 to join. That was the only option we had. So my
Mhm.
father-in-law's like, I'll give you the $99. So I called Kim up and I said, I want to join. And then when my box came in and the testers were huge and everything was just like so exciting, I just wanted to go door to door because
Mhm.
social media wasn't a thing in '08. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe MySpace was, but
Yeah. Well, we had Facebook, but it was not. It was like for I just ate lunch kind of thing.
yes,
It
like, oh,
wasn't
what did
like
I do?
a
I just looked at a cat. It wasn't like marketing, more
right.
networking with people.
Yeah.
And so that's literally what I did. I remember I went to this business. It was a day spa. I don't know why I chose this. And I was shaking and sweating profusely and
Mhm.
stuttering. And I'm like, "Hi, I'm Jodie, and I got this warmer, and I think it would be just really great in here. Can I leave it for a week?" And it was awful. I mean, she told me years later, she's like, "I remember the first day you came in here and you didn't know what you were doing. You were terrified. Now look at you." So that's pretty much how I started. I said no. I was begged. I did it. I shared everywhere I could. Literally
Yeah.
just, I sprinkled Scentsy
Mhm.
everywhere.
Mhm.
And I think
Did
you
you
asked me,
now were you working a job then?
Kind of. So we had 4 children.
Mhm.
Our children right now are 21, 22, 23, and 15.
Okay.
So I was very busy at home with 4 children. I had worked for a health insurance company for many years,
Mhm.
but I had this new baby, and it was really hard to put the older kids in, like after school care and then pay for daycare for him. It was like, why was I working? So I had recently left that job and I was doing in-home daycare, which had its pros and cons. But about 6 months after Scentsy, I was like, I'm done babysitting.
Uh-huh.
And so,
So
and we struggled. We were on
yeah,
assisted. We
yeah,
definitely needed help,
yeah.
and I didn't know it, but Scentsy was what we needed. So
Isn't that amazing?
I can tell you that 13 years later, I still pinch myself going, is this really my life? And
Mhm.
sometimes, Sarah, I actually feel guilty about it.
Really?
Sometimes I feel like, why was I deserving? Why did this happen to me? Why didn't it happen to somebody else? How did I get so blessed or so lucky or fortunate? And I have to battle with that. These people are like, you shouldn't feel guilty. And I'm like, but I do. I mean, I have been on assistance. I was 30 when I started Scentsy. I had been on assistance on and off my entire life. I just thought I knew I didn't want that, but I just kind of thought that that's what my life would entail.
Uh-huh.
And everything I did, I tried to better myself and get a better promotion to make more money. But I, I don't like working for other people. I don't like being told what to do. I know that sounds kind of
Mm.
yucky. So I always had in the back of my mind, I need to make my own schedule, be in control of my own life. But I had no idea how I would ever do that. And then it was Scentsy that came along and introduced that to me. Like let me back up one minute too. I forgot about
Yeah,
this part.
no, go for it.
So my sister-in-law, let's go back to my sister-in-law, Kim.
Okay.
I
Mhm.
should tell you how she found Scentsy.
Okay.
She owns her own check writing company. Scentsy found her, and she used to write our paper checks,
Oh,
which
wow.
I just found some of my paper checks the other day. So she started writing checks for this company, and she's like, "What is this Scentsy thing anyway?" Because she had never heard of it. She wanted to know what company is she writing checks for,
Uh-huh.
and going back way a bit here, but we used to have a guy in charge of like the finances. His name was Andrew. So Andrew's like, "Hey Kim, I want you to talk to I think it was his mother-in-law, which was Orville's sister, Carol."
Okay.
So when we joined, Carol was basically our upline.
Mhm.
And we had to kind of figure out everything on our own. It was fairly new to the East Coast, and I don't think anybody had broke through. I don't know, lack of a better word.
Mhm.
And we didn't have a lot of training. We definitely didn't have training centers. We didn't have a startup guide. We didn't have, like I said, we didn't have Facebook chats to ask things. And Carol kind of felt like, well, if I'm Orville's sister, it will look unfair if I kind of help Jodie and Kim along. Well, because of
Mm.
that, we really had to figure everything out on our own. And let me tell you, I'm at home like, what is this, Kim? What is that? What is it? She's like, Jodie, I'm working. I'm like, but I have questions. You need to answer my questions. And
Right.
so I joined in August of '08, and I hit director at the commission of October.
Okay.
What's significant about that is Kim and I were excited. We're like, whoa, we're gonna hit director, but she didn't. And that was heartbreaking because we didn't know
Mhm.
that my stuff came out of hers. And so when I
Mhm.
say we really grew up and learned a lot of this business together, it's
Now, does
every
Kim
day.
still is Kim still with Scentsy?
Yep, she sure is. I
Oh,
always joke that she should work for corporate because she's borderline genius. So,
oh, yeah.
yeah,
I
she'd be
mean,
good in our home office. So yeah,
yeah. Well, that's awesome.
I know it's
That's
kind of cool.
that's pretty amazing. Like that's
Yeah.
a really fun and exciting story. And I love that I finally get to hear that. That's why I'm doing this because I've never heard all of these things, you
Yeah.
know. So okay. So you joined Scentsy, you promoted to director within just a couple of months. No,
Mhm.
not even a couple of months, right?
Yeah, right. Not
A
even
month
like
and a
a
half,
full, like a
maybe.
month and a half. Yeah.
Dang. Okay, so
Yeah.
how did you do that?
Oh my God, this is gonna sound so terrible. Back then, I feel like people just were like, "What is this? I want to join." I'm like, "Oh, come on,
Yeah.
I don't know." Right. And people just started joining. I had, I think, 8 people on my team.
Hmm.
And when I hit director, and I never not hit director numbers after that. And we were just so new that I think all of us were kind of learning and doing things really closely together. So
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
So you had a very good small knit
yeah.
group. So man, I have so many questions in my head about that. Okay, so let's backtrack a little bit. So you started, you promoted, you had 4 young children. Were they in school yet or no? Some
Yeah,
of
well,
them?
everyone but the little guy. He was home.
Okay.
The
Okay.
two.
Um, so you had all of their scheduling to do and to work around. Um, and then 6 months in, you said,
Mhm.
okay, well, there's no purpose in me working because
Right.
I'm paying too much. And then you did that. So what did your journey look like from after you stopped working full-time outside of the home to working in the home? Were you working full-time? Were you kind of doing things after the kids went to bed while they were at school? How did that look for you? And I know that that was like not recently, so I understand that it's a
Yeah,
little hard
that
to
was a long
remember.
time ago, right? I should also mention that at that time, my husband worked third shift. So not only do we have 4 kids,
Mhm.
but he sleeps all day. So I have
Mm.
to keep those kids and some
And
of
the
that time
daycare kids.
daycare kids quiet, which was
Mhm.
really hard. So I would I wish I had my calendar from back then because it was a party. I want to say I had 15 or 16 parties in September
Oh, wow.
that I had to get to and be home by 9
Mhm.
because he had to go to work. And so I had to be home for the kids. But
Wow.
I don't think I fully understood how that would later benefit us, right? I didn't know that working that hard then would lead us to where it is now. To me, back then it was just fun. I was literally just
Yeah.
sharing this $5 wax. I didn't
Right.
realize when I said, "Hey, I want to share this," that I was starting a business. That actually never occurred to me.
Mhm.
And I got a paycheck, my first one. I'm like, they're paying me for this. And I remember, I remember it was, I remember it being $452. But I remember being like, I am going to buy pizza tonight, and I'm going to buy Littlest Pet Shops for our kids. Those are little toys.
Oh, yeah.
But it wasn't in our budget before. So I got to do those 2 things without guilt or worry because this extra $400, we weren't counting on it. So I could spend it however I want. And I was like, oh, this is really great. Like this is like a stress reliever on our family. $400 was a lot of money to us.
Mhm.
And so I remember just continuing that thought process. I always knew I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to make endless money. I wanted to be in control of my life. So those things, when it got hard, were always still in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
Like if you want something bad enough, I think you learn to overcome anything that's thrown at you. That doesn't mean you don't stumble. That doesn't mean you don't give up for a couple of days or you don't question yourself. It just means that you're going to dust yourself back off eventually and you're going to get back up.
Mhm.
So I don't necessarily remember what my day would look like other than I did work during the day, sometimes when the kids were there because they got to help me. They loved making samples. They loved sorting boxes and labeling things. So I tried to incorporate them as much as possible
Mhm.
when they were awake. But I do remember taking trainings and doing things like that after they would go to bed. So
Right. Right.
they loved it. They always thought
Um,
the UPS truck was Scentsy. Scentsy truck's here. I'm like, well, kinda.
yeah.
So,
My son, we either get Scentsy or we get Amazon.
well, I mean,
That's
what
what
else
comes
do
to
they
our
bring?
house. Right. Um, gosh, this is just so exciting for me. So, I'm just gonna tell a little story if you don't care.
Oh,
Um,
sure.
so I remember, and don't worry, I'll put the income disclosure in the comment in the
Yeah. I forgot about
so I remember it was like, I don't know, maybe not long after I hit director. And there's this restaurant here that we love to go to. And well, I specifically love to go to it. And my husband and I, we've up until recently, we would always like share a meal because you can get a bigger size steak for like, $5 more and you just cut it in half and whatever. But we like different cook, like steak
it. Yeah.
cooked differently. So I would always eat around the edge and he would always eat in the middle.
Yes.
And you know, we went to great lengths to eat our steak. And so anyway, so I remember my son, I think he was a baby, if he was even born then. And he's 4 now. And I remember my check was like $800. And I was like
Yes.
pumped. And I was like, we're going to dinner and I'm buying. Like, I
Doesn't
was
it
so
feel good?
excited that like I had this money, that I could take my husband and buy him this nice dinner. I don't know. I don't remember if we shared or not. We might have, just because that's what we
Right.
always did. But we went to dinner and we like just enjoyed it. And I just felt such like this amazing feeling of accomplishment that like I was able, I was a social worker before. So I didn't, I wasn't raking in the dough or anything. So, so it was just like this really great feeling.
It is.
So anyway, so that just reminded me, like $452, you can buy pizza. And now that I'm doing a little better than $800 a month,
Yeah.
it's a couple weeks ago, everyone was like, can you just pick something up, like some chicken or something? So I picked chicken up, and, I don't know, I spent like maybe $50 or something, like getting chicken and some little sides or whatever. And brought it to my family. And, it's nice to be able to say, don't worry about it. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like, it's totally fine. Like,
I got it.
not that like I want to do that all the time, because then I would go broke, but like, it's just nice to be able to do that. Anyways, that was a side
No, but
note.
you're right. I mean, like, I think a lot of people will join direct sales and they have this false impression in their mind that, like, if they don't make thousands or are able to quit their job, then they're somehow not successful. And that's
Right, right.
just not true.
Mm-mm.
Um, you know, I'll use my daughter as an example. I was having a conversation with her. She's a 23-year-old and she is terrible with budgeting her money.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I don't know why you just don't do Scentsy on the side, because even if you only made $50 a month,
Right.
that's a big deal for you. That's your gas for the month because you live so close to work. I'm like, you have
Mhm.
to think of it like that. Like for me, $400 was life changing. It wasn't thousands, it was $400. And I know many people where that would be like fun money, or it would take off some of the pressure of living week to week. You know what I mean? So it doesn't always have to be those big, huge checks that are life changing. $400 changed our life and it opened my eyes
Yeah.
hugely.
Well,
So
and the really crazy thing is that now we're seeing inflation, where like I in my
yes.
lifetime have never really seen that happen.
Mhm.
And so not as much in one period of time.
Right.
And so I think it's really beneficial for people like me, or like when you were staying at home, to know that you have something that you can contribute with. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so back to you.
Sorry.
And and your story. Okay. So you made that money, you started making that money. So when did you promote to star director, and how did that change things for you as well? And how were you said like recruiting was kind of easy to begin with, because
It was
everyone
new.
was like, okay, well, sure, I'll join it. I mean, what did that look like, what's the word I'm looking for? Your turnover rate? Like, were there a lot of people coming and going, or did they stick it out? And like, how does that look for you in the next few years after that first $400 check?
Okay. So yeah, people were coming. Most people didn't leave. I still have several. I'd have to, I'm curious as to go and look and see how many are my original, my OGs. And there
Mhm.
are some that I've reached out to being like, I just miss you in my life. Can you just come
Okay.
back? You know,
Right.
um, I know, I don't remember when I hit star director. I honestly have no idea when I did that, but I can tell you I hit superstar director in March of 2011.
Okay.
I remember that day very clearly because it wasn't on my radar yet. And then I woke up and I was like, oh, our numbers are like really great. And then I made superstar director. I was the only one that made it that entire month. And I think for like a 6-month period. So I felt like the new kid on the block for a really long time. And I
How
kind of,
many were there before you?
100 maybe.
Mhm.
I'm not sure. That's a good question. I should see if I can find out the answer to that. But I felt like I didn't deserve it. I didn't know what I was doing. I couldn't hide amongst other new SSDs because there were none. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I also remember going to my first convention as an SSD, and we were all going to wear these matching shirts, and we're going to take this group photo. And I have that photo somewhere, and I'm in the back hiding.
Mhm.
Like, did
Mhm.
not feel like I belonged. And I think that's another thing that's important to tell people is, was comparing myself. I was on the SSD page going, oh, these people are awesome. This person did this, and I have nothing. And all that did was beat myself, what little self-confidence I had, down. And so I removed myself, and I'm like, I don't have to be like her or him or her. I need to be me. I need to be the best version of myself and do things my way. And
Mhm.
so from there, I just started, removing myself a little bit to work on what I needed to build as a superstar director in my own mind.
Mhm.
Um, and then I forgot the rest of the question already because I just ramble. But
I forgot it too.
yeah.
Um, so what does so okay, so when you promoted, so that's really great. So I'm just so enamored by your story
Really?
and how it looked for you. And also um a little bit envious right now because I really miss parties. Like in home
I just had one last week.
exciting parties. Like I was supposed to have one in a week and she decided she was just going to do it online and I'm like fine. And so I'm going to yeah. So I'm really like I think life is just so different now.
It
So
is.
what does that look like for you?
Right now, like, how am I maintaining my business, kind of?
Mhm.
I will say I did have a home party last week. It was the first one in probably 3 years.
Mhm.
It was very, very small. Was myself, the host, 3 guests.
Mhm.
That was it. And we just sat around the table. We ate. We smelled the testers. They asked questions while we looked at catalog, and it was $1,000 party,
Mhm.
just over $1,000. And she joined. I was like, and that's where it's at. And that's the reminder I need to know
Mhm.
that parties are where it's at. Now, a lot of people don't love to do them, or they find different ways to do them. But however you're doing it, it is the bread and butter of this business.
And
You
they're not super hard. And that's what
know,
people don't like. All I say is all you have to do is get them to smell things.
yeah,
Like
I
that's
brought
literally
product. We didn't go over any of it other than one nightlight. They wanted to see what it looked like, a mini warmer plugged in. Everything else was just the testers in the middle of the table. And
Mhm.
when I should back up, when I still lived in New York, um, I didn't I didn't like calling them home parties. So I'd be like, hey, who wants to do a sit and sniff? And
Mhm.
so right from the beginning, the host and all of the guests coming knew, like, Jodie's not going to do a big demo unless they wanted, but she's
Mhm.
going to do more of a, let's sit down, we're going to smell, we're going to share stories, because we all know that when you share scents, it triggers memories, it triggers stories, it triggers conversation. And
Mhm.
then that's what connects all of us together.
Mhm.
So parties really are, however you're doing, and we need to find a way to make sure that you're all connecting. So
Yes. Yes.
I definitely
Absolutely.
do a lot of more online right now.
Yeah. So are you when you do online, this is a me question more so than for YouTube. But it will help them. So when you're doing your online parties, are you doing like 30-minute lives? Are you doing like lots of posting? Are you doing like an hour live where you're like doing a demonstration? Because it's harder with online parties because you have to be very prepared. And it's not like you can just send every single guest a whole pack of testers. So you can send them sheets with stickers. What are you doing? What does your system kind of look like?
Let me get something for you if you don't mind. I'll show you really
Mhm.
quick.
Sure.
Oh goodness. Well, I don't know where the rest of them went. I cleaned my. Oh, they're right here.
I don't you hate when you clean? You're like, I can't find anything.
Well, my office, you know how it is. But anyway, so what I do for my online parties is the host always gets a host packet, and so I'll take 9 testers fit in these bags perfectly,
Mhm.
and so I'll send her, 9 testers, and I try to make sure the variety is good, some bakery, some spicy, things along those lines. The hostess will also get all of the new scent and the rub and smell stickers.
Mhm.
Plus, they'll get samples that I've made. So they're they're probably getting 20 to 25 different fragrances that they
Okay.
can share if they see people like at work and things like that. I also send out party packs to guests who fill out the form where they're going to get things like laundry, wax samples, rub and smell. So they at least have those 10 fragrances. So those help boost sales because they get to try it ahead of time.
Mhm.
How we do the party depends on what the hostess wants. If she wants a Facebook Live, I'm ready to go. I can, and it always 30 minutes or less.
Mhm.
Because people get bored. You know what I mean? I don't want them to be like, oh, scrolling on their phone while I'm talking to them. I try to be fast and engaging, and there it is. I also use Vizzly for
Mhm.
posting. I have created videos that I can share with the hostess and in the party so that there's always something new to look at. I also add their customer list into my VIP page. If they don't want their own Facebook party page, I'll just add them into mine. So there's some variables there, but it really comes down to you and your hostess discussing what might be best for their
Yeah,
guests. Some
sure.
people want games. Some people are totally against games. So you're not going to know that if you don't, if you
Mhm.
don't ask the hostess. So that's
Yeah.
pretty much what they look like. But
Wow. Yeah.
I also do, oh my goodness, this is a ever ending question. I also make them a Canva, I don't know, the Canva scrolling website basically. So I can text the picture,
Mhm.
the link right to the host, and she can text that to everybody, and that image is completely clickable. So they can click on her Facebook party link, they can click on my VIP page, they can click on different video links to take them to different things,
Mhm.
all under one link.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Yeah.
Dang. I need to learn about that.
Yeah, I'll show you.
That's amazing. Okay, so what's your life like, or what was it like 5, 6, 7 years into your Scentsy career,
Okay.
comparing to what it was before?
So remember how I said I feel guilty sometimes?
Mhm.
This is where that comes in. We grew up pretty poor, government cheese, uh, in the projects. And I'm not downing any of that. All of that makes you who you are, right? Everything that happens in your life, if you look at it the right way and don't use it as a crutch, but use it as a reason to boost you. And that's what I did. I wanted more. And I know my mama did the best that she could, but we struggled. So I feel guilty sometimes when I look at my life now compared to where it was before I started, or even when I did start. We
Mhm.
are so beyond blessed. Um, we now live in North Carolina. I was able to move my entire family from New York to North Carolina because my business goes where I go.
Mhm.
Everything can be done online. I don't have to necessarily worry about finding a new job at a new place. And I can take my time here to find new customers, which I've been doing for the last 3 years.
Mhm.
If you would have ever told me that we would have the material items that we have today, I'd have been like, girl, I just want to make a grilled cheese sandwich with some government cheese. I
Mhm.
never, ever, ever would have pictured this as our life with
Mhm.
the things that we get to do, the trips we get to take. I'll tell you one quick story is I had been to Disney World, but my sister and her kids had never been. And so my dream, and our kids are very close. You would think that they're siblings. Um, and I was like, I got my first $10,000 paycheck. And I was like, I didn't even know how to react. Okay. I didn't know how to breathe. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. But I was like, people don't make this in 3 or 4 months. And I just made it in one. And I said to my husband, I really want to take our family to Disney World. And
Mhm.
so literally he took a nap. He woke up from his nap. I had it planned. There's 10 of us and we're going to Disney World for 10 days.
Uh-huh.
I think that is still the greatest accomplishment of my business is being able to take my kids and my sister's kids and her husband to Disney for 10 days. And it was the trip of a lifetime. Yeah, we had so much fun. I
Mhm.
never would have imagined that would have been something I would have been able to do because when I went to Disney, it wasn't on my dime, it was my father-in-law. So that was
Mhm.
how I got blessed. But being able to turn around and pay that forward,
Yeah.
I can't even put into words what that felt like.
Yeah.
Can't.
Well,
It's
that
amazing.
is one of the questions I was going to ask, is what is like your greatest accomplishment? So since you just said that, What do you feel like is one of the biggest challenges that you've had?
Myself.
Mhm.
I am my biggest challenge. Um, I say things to myself that I would never speak to another human being.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of times we can all fall into that trap of our negative self-talk. And sometimes I'm like, Jodie Lynn, who the hell are you talking to like that? And I'm like, oh, look at what you're doing to yourself because it does no good. So I
Mhm.
have to constantly work on myself and my self-doubt. I remember one time in a team meeting, these girls were like, well, we could never do what you do because we don't have the confidence you do. And I was floored. I'm like, confidence? I'm the most unconfident person I know. I go, but I have the courage to do the things that scare me anyway. If I waited to be confident, we wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now. I wouldn't. I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm busy. I'd be lying and telling you I had all these other obligations because I just don't have a lot of confidence. So I am my biggest hurdle for
Mhm.
sure, without a doubt. And I think it applies to many people that um, they think that they're not good enough. They don't deserve it. They don't know how. They don't have what it takes. And so a lot of people won't even try whatever. And I'm not just talking Scentsy, but anything in life that they want to do
Right.
because they
Right.
automatically tell themselves they can't. In one way or another, they can't do it or they don't deserve it, so they don't try. And
Mhm.
I'm here to tell you that you don't have to be confident in anything that you're doing. You have to find the courage to do it anyway. And
Mhm.
with that will come a sense of confidence to know, like, okay, I know I'm scared right now, but I also know I'm not going to die if this interview doesn't go well. Or if I get up on stage and I speak in front of people, I'm not going to die. Something will come out of it. And
Mhm.
even if it's just to build more courage. So or more confidence. So have the courage to do the things that scare you. The confidence will start to come.
I love that.
Mm.
Courage.
Mhm.
Such a big word, holds so
Yeah,
much
it
inside of
does.
it, and we teach our kids to be courageous
Yeah.
and to do new things, so we should do that too, you know.
Mhm. Yep.
Man, I'm trying to think of what I have a whole list, but I'm just not even looking at
Okay,
it.
we're taking this off script.
Yes, I think that ow, sorry, my cat just like dug his claws into me. I'm not a cat person. I will not ever be a crazy cat lady. My husband likes cats. So,
People.
but mm-mm. So, um, man, there's just I'm just now I'm like just trying to think of all the things,
You didn't know anything about me. So
I
it's
knew
kind of
nothing
like,
about
wait,
you.
where do we go
Yeah.
from here?
So now I like, get to think of all new things. Um, Random question.
Mhm,
Do you do dream boards?
mhm.
You
Yep,
know?
I do. My dream board, I have one on my phone. I have my dream check right here,
Mhm.
right there, and a couple of them. I have them all over my place. So
You feel like when you put them on your board that they usually are accomplished.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's how Disney happened. I mean, it was on my board. I just never really
Yeah.
thought it would, right? You sometimes you put things on there and you're like, yeah, it's never really gonna happen.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's gonna happen, and it's gonna happen while you take a nap. I'm gonna
Mhm.
schedule
Yeah.
it. So yeah.
So my dream board this year, um, I have a few things. Some are time based, like they're not gonna happen in 1 year.
Yeah.
But it's something you get to look at. Mine's above, where I sit at my desk and I look at it every day, and it's, it's awesome. So that's why I asked that question. Okay. Let me look at my list of things.
I think
Right.
also when you talk about dream boards, I don't dream big. So that
Hmm.
was hard for me. And
Hmm.
sometimes still to this day, I have to go to my inner circle and be like, I don't know how to dream this big. I don't know what this would look like. And they're like, and I get too afraid to put like, okay, this is going to sound super crazy, especially because you don't know me. I would love to own an island.
Okay.
Well, for years, I never put that on my dream board because what crazy person puts on their board they want to own an island? But it is now on my dream board because I watched, HGTV and stuff. You can definitely buy an island, but I want an island. Like my dream would be to have all of my closest people and friends on like a compound. with a big lazy river in the middle. So, and if it's
I
on an island in the
love it.
Caribbean, even better, right? Like,
That's
so
amazing.
sometimes if you need help dreaming, you know, reach out to those people and they'll help point you into the direction of like, what do you want? Because that ultimately that would be my dream come true, is if I had a little friendly compound and all we ever did was have fun.
Mhm.
So I
I
don't know.
love that so much.
You
Oh
can
my
come.
gosh. You're very quickly becoming someone I love.
Oh, thanks.
I'm not that I didn't love you before, but I just didn't
But we just didn't know each other,
know
really.
what to love, you know. So what is your team size now?
My team is somewhere around 230. My group is much bigger than that.
Yeah. Your group too.
My group is,
You don't have to share if you don't want to, only if you
no,
want to.
it's, I mean, I just haven't looked at it closely. It's about 15,000.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
I have some, I have some really amazing leaders under me. And that's where, again, that guilt and luck, I say, comes
No
in.
luck. It's not luck.
I know, because I had to
What
do
is
other
meant
things.
for you? I
I
say what is meant for you is already on its way. So
Oh,
what is meant
I like
for
that.
you is meant for you.
Oh,
And so, but you also have to believe and manifest, and you know, it's kind of like I say, you know, God can have things that he wants for us, but it doesn't just come,
yeah.
you know. You don't just, you know, I have an SSD under me right now, and one tiny decision is what created that. You know what I mean? Like one decision to do an event, to talk to a person, to encourage them.
Yeah.
And even though that person is not on my team anymore, and she's a customer now,
Yeah. Changes it.
it led into this drip of things that happened. And so it's not luck.
Mhm.
It's decisions, right? It's decisions that we make. It's opportunities that we take, and it's opportunities that we give and we share, and it's the work that we do to encourage. That doesn't mean that they may have not found that opportunity somewhere else, but that was for you. And
Right.
so I think that speaks volumes, you know, and it's obvious that you're very humble, and you know, and I think that you probably wouldn't say to anyone, oh, I'm so humble, because you're humble. You know. And so I think I just think it's beautiful. I'm obsessed with your story,
Thank
and
you.
and your courage, you know.
Yeah.
um okay, one thing that we haven't really talked about, well, we did sort of, you did sort of talk about, you talked about trips, but um events, you did kind of talk about events, but can you touch more on how events help you in your business, and what changes for you when you're at events?
A lot. Like, okay. So I want to first give my mama another shout out. So remember how she begged me to get into Scentsy? I earned Banff, Canada in 2009.
Mhm,
And it is nothing. I'm like, I would have never chosen this. If you put the brochure out, I've been like, I'm not going there.
mhm,
Oh my God, I can't wait to go back someday. It was beautiful, but I took my mama on that trip because if it hadn't been for her pushing me, I never would have joined Scentsy. I never would have earned this trip. And that trip, I was a little bit scared. I'd never been out of the country, didn't know anybody. And I'm sitting on the bus and I'm like, and this guy gets on and it's Orville. And I'm like, he's like, and he shakes my hand, he introduces himself. I say who I am. He's like, oh, I've heard so much about you. And I'm like, instantly, who's telling rumors? Who's spreading lies? Like I thought I had to be bad. If he's hearing about
oh
me, it's gotta be
no,
bad news, right?
yeah,
And so that first trip, I started to realize that I wasn't just a part of this wax company that was
mhm,
selling, product. It was he knew who we were. He
mhm.
got on that bus and he talked to every single person. I'm like, this is the owner of the company. So that was a pivotal moment in my business where I was like, what am I stumbling on? Yeah, the money is great, but this is different. That I mean, I didn't have a community. I never belonged. I was the girl in high school who I was friends with the jocks. I was a smoker, so I was friends with the smokers. I was friends with the kids who didn't have any money because I didn't have any money. I was friends with the rich kids because everybody's. I don't know. I was just friends with everybody, but I didn't ever really belong anywhere. And now I was like, wow, this is something bigger than what I ever imagined. So fast forward to the first convention in 2009. Okay, y'all. Salt Lake City 2009 changed my entire life. It was magical. I don't know if you know Karen Fettis, but she is in my downline. It was her and another director and myself. We went to Salt Lake City. We knew nobody. We still didn't know much about Scentsy, you guys, because there was still no like real Facebook things, and you weren't really networking yet. And this is how little we knew. People kept talking about superstar directors, and we're like, what is a superstar director and who the heck is ours? Because we just sat by ourselves. Do you know who our superstar director is? Heidi Thompson. That's why we didn't know who it was. And at that event, we got, she and I got some awards, and we met more people, and it just honed in more like, oh, this is somewhere where you're going to find more than just product and money. I have found friendships and the memories and the experiences. I cannot say enough good things about going to events, and how I try to explain it to my team when they question whether or not it's worth it. I'm not a sports person unless we're talking volleyball, but some people love football. And I always tell them, if you could go to the Super Bowl and sit on the 50-yard line, or stay home and watch that same game, it's the same game no matter where you are, but how you feel and what you experience will be completely different. Absolutely. Going to a Scentsy event is personal for every single person that goes. If you go with an open mind and an open heart and receive what they're really saying and what's really happening around you, it will be life-changing. I am not the same Jodie I was 13 years ago. I am more kind, I am more patient, I am more giving, I'm just a better person. And I attribute that to personal growth. And a lot of that comes from going to these events and meeting people I would never know. My best friends are all over the country. I can't get in my car and drive to them. I've got to be like, hey, I'm getting on a plane, pick me up at the airport. Right. That would have never been my life had I not gone to events. It's just amazing to me what an event feels like when you walk through a convention door at the very first session, and you hear the music and the lights, and you feel the music and you feel the excitement. You can't help but cry. Yeah. Because it is just something so much bigger than my mind could have ever wrapped my mind around, that I would belong to something like this. And every time it brings me to a place of such gratitude, and where your eyes are just reopened to what this really is truly about. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I do.
And that is why I'm doing this YouTube channel, because I want people to understand and experience through our stories what that feels like. And now there are some people who will watch these videos probably and have a very closed heart and not be able to understand it for what it is. But there might be people who are on the edge of wanting to join, or there might be people who are on the edge of wanting to quit, who need to see that they're not alone in their story, and that there are so many people. I think a lot of times people get caught up in their sponsors or their directors or who these people are, and whether they're giving them what they think they need. And what we really need to focus on is what you said, is that gratitude, that sense of like, why me? Why me? And how did I get this incredible opportunity? And it's because you opened your eyes and you found something you were passionate about, and you loved something. And instead of sitting around waiting for somebody to make it happen for you, you opened up the door and you had courage, and you went to that spa, even though it probably felt like you were going to die. Like, you went and you did it, and I still have moments like that. I still have moments like that. And if you don't, then you're not growing and changing and developing. And
Amen to
so I
that.
think that's absolutely incredible. So if you could leave this interview and you could say one thing, not one word, but just one thing, to consultants or to anybody in the community who might see this video, what would you tell them if they're struggling, or if they're maybe even just considering an opportunity? What would you say to them?
That's a hard question,
It is.
because there's so many possible directions I could take that into. I think the very first thing is that somebody needs to recognize themselves is, they have to believe in themselves, and they cannot compare who they are, where they come from, to anybody else, because my ending is not your journey. It's not your beginning. It's not your middle. It's nothing. You have to put your head down and decide, how bad do you want it, and are you going to get it? And you can't quit when it gets hard, because it's going to get hard. There are going to be months where, things don't go as you mapped out, but will you overcome those obstacles is what you need to decide. Because
Mhm.
this business opportunity, there's no minimum, like, okay, you don't have to have a college degree. We're not salespeople, so you don't need experience there. It literally is for anybody who wants it bad enough.
Mhm.
So, and when I start feeling really down on myself, and I've been in this 13 and a half years, it still happens. I know a few things I need to do. I need to watch some motivational videos. Steve Harvey is my favorite. I need to reach out to my closest circles. And sometimes I need to just step back for a minute and recollect my thoughts. And that's okay. We are not going to be perfect and strong all the time. We're not always going to have the answers, and we're not going to always feel motivated to wake up and do the damn thing. So you gotta find what fuels you and fill that cup back up so that you don't give up,
Mhm.
I guess is
Yeah,
what I would say.
I love it. Oh, well, this has been so enlightening. I think I found my word for 2022.
Ooh, what is it? Or don't you want to share?
Courage.
Courage.
I think that might be what I use.
Yep.
And it's so funny because I keep going with C words.
Really?
Yep, this year is commit, and last year was catapult, which is a
That's
very
interesting
weird
one.
word. And it happens, I feel like
Yeah.
just flew off into space. So C words apparently are my calling.
Go with
But
it then.
yep. Anyways, this was very amazing, so inspiring. I really appreciate you doing it. I appreciate you having courage to come and share with everyone. And so I just want to say thank you.
You.
And I can't wait to get to know you more. And um I'm really excited for everyone to see it. So thank you so much. Everyone have an amazing, amazing day.
Thank you. Bye, Sarah. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.